You are listening to Public Speaking Mastery, the Psychology of Confident and Powerful Communication, written and created by Audiobook Mantra. This audiobook is not about memorizing speeches. It is about mastering the psychological forces that determine how you are perceived when you speak. Because public speaking is not merely the act of using your voice. It is the act of transmitting emotional certainty. It is the act of shaping perception. It is the act of influencing attention. Every time you speak in front of others, something deeper is happening. People are not only listening to your words, they are evaluating your emotional stability. They are measuring your confidence. They are sensing your certainty. And their decision to trust you, respect you, or ignore you is formed long before you finish speaking. Public speaking mastery is not about becoming louder. It is about becoming calmer. It is not about forcing confidence. It is about developing internal control, because the most powerful speakers do not try to dominate attention. They naturally command it. This audiobook will teach you how to develop the internal stability, emotional control, and psychological authority that transform ordinary speakers into powerful communicators, not through memorization, not through performance, but through mastery. Introduction: Why public speaking is a psychological skill, not a verbal skill. Most people believe public speaking is about words. They believe the right words create confidence. They believe the right structure creates influence. They believe the right preparation eliminates fear. But words alone do not create authority. Psychology creates authority because the audience is not only hearing you, they are feeling you. They are sensing your emotional state. They are detecting your certainty or your uncertainty. This detection happens instantly, before you finish your first sentence. Before you complete your first idea. The human brain is designed to detect emotional stability, because emotional stability signals safety, and safety creates trust. Trust creates attention. Attention creates influence. This is why two people can say the exact same words and receive completely different reactions. One is respected, the other is ignored. One is remembered, the other is forgotten. The difference is not in the words. The difference is in the internal state of the speaker. Most people attempt to fix public speaking externally. They practice their speech repeatedly. They memorize their points. They focus on what to say. But they neglect the most important factor, their internal stability. When the internal state is unstable, the external delivery reflects it. The voice becomes uncertain. The pacing becomes rushed. The presence becomes weakened. The audience senses this immediately, not consciously, but instinctively, because humans evolved to detect emotional certainty. Certainty signals competence. Competence signals leadership. Leadership commands attention. This is why calm speakers are perceived as more intelligent, more credible, more trustworthy, even when their words are simple, because emotional stability amplifies perceived competence. Most speaking anxiety does not come from speaking itself. It comes from being observed. Observation creates psychological pressure. Pressure destabilizes the nervous system. The nervous system enters survival mode. In survival mode, clarity decreases, confidence decreases, control decreases. The speaker begins reacting instead of leading. But powerful speakers do not react to observation. They remain internally stable. They remain emotionally grounded. They remain in control. This control transforms how they are perceived. Their words carry weight. Their silence carries presence. Their calm carries authority. Public speaking mastery is not about eliminating fear completely. It is about developing control over your nervous system, control over your emotional state, control over your internal reactions. Because when you control your internal state, you control your external presence. And when you control your presence, you control perception. And when you control perception, you control influence. This audiobook will teach you how to develop that control, not through tricks, not through performance techniques, but through psychological mastery, because the most powerful speakers are not the most expressive. They are the most stable. They do not force attention. They attract it. They do not chase approval. They command respect. They do not perform confidence. They embody certainty. And once you develop this internal mastery, speaking will no longer feel like exposure. It will feel like control. It will feel like authority. It will feel like power. This is the beginning of public speaking mastery. Chapter 1. Why most people fear public speaking and how powerful speakers think differently. Public speaking is one of the most common fears in the world, more feared than failure, more feared than rejection, even more feared than physical danger. In some cases, this fear appears irrational, because speaking is not physically dangerous. No harm is being inflicted, no physical threat exists. And yet, the nervous system reacts as if survival is at stake. The heart rate increases, breathing becomes shallow, muscles tighten, the voice weakens, thoughts become disorganized. This reaction is not a weakness, it is a survival response, because the human nervous system evolved in environments where social rejection meant isolation, and isolation meant vulnerability. To the nervous system, being observed by a group activates ancient survival mechanisms. It interprets observation as evaluation, evaluation as potential rejection, rejection as potential danger. This chain reaction creates fear, not consciously, but biologically. Most people do not fear speaking itself. They fear judgment. They fear losing control. They fear appearing weak. They fear exposing uncertainty. This fear destabilizes their internal state, and internal instability weakens their external presence. The moment instability appears internally, it becomes visible externally. The voice begins to reflect tension. The pacing becomes rushed. The speaker attempts to escape the moment. They speak faster. They attempt to finish quickly, because their nervous system seeks relief. Relief from observation, relief from pressure, but this urgency weakens authority. Authority cannot exist in urgency. Authority exists in stability. Powerful speakers do not eliminate the biological fear response. They develop control over it. They understand that fear is a signal, not a command. Fear signals importance. Fear signals exposure. Fear signals that attention is present. But powerful speakers do not interpret fear as danger. They interpret it as energy. Energy that can be directed. Energy that can be controlled. Energy that can be stabilized. This difference in interpretation changes everything. Most people interpret fear as a threat. Powerful speakers interpret it as activation. Activation prepares the nervous system. It sharpens awareness. It increases alertness. It increases presence. But only if it is controlled. Uncontrolled activation creates anxiety. Controlled activation creates authority. This is why powerful speakers appear calm, not because they feel nothing, but because they remain in control of their internal state. They do not resist observation. They accept it. They do not attempt to escape attention. They stabilize within it. Stability transforms perception. Because the audience is constantly evaluating emotional signals, they are sensing certainty or sensing uncertainty. Certainty attracts attention. Uncertainty weakens attention. This evaluation happens instantly, within seconds, before the content is fully understood, before the logic is processed. Emotional signals shape perception first. Logical signals follow. This is why emotional control is more important than verbal perfection. Perfect words delivered with instability weaken authority. Simple words delivered with stability strengthen authority. Because emotional stability signals competence. Competence signals leadership. Leadership commands attention. Most people attempt to improve public speaking externally. They focus on memorization. They focus on structure. They focus on delivery techniques. But external techniques cannot compensate for internal instability. Internal stability must come first, because internal state determines external presence. Presence determines perception. Perception determines influence. Powerful speakers understand that public speaking is not about impressing the audience. It is about stabilizing themselves. When internal stability is achieved, external authority emerges naturally. There is no need to force confidence. There is no need to perform certainty. Certainty becomes the natural result of internal control. This control changes how the nervous system responds to observation. Observation no longer feels like danger. It feels like opportunity. Opportunity to influence. Opportunity to lead. Opportunity to shape perception. This shift transforms fear into power. Because fear is not the enemy, loss of control is the enemy. Powerful speakers do not eliminate fear. They eliminate loss of control. They stabilize their breathing. They stabilize their pacing. They stabilize their thoughts. They stabilize their emotional state. This stabilization creates calm. Calm creates authority. Authority creates influence. Influence creates impact. Public speaking mastery begins not with speaking, but with stabilizing the nervous system, stabilizing emotional reactions, stabilizing internal control, because the speaker who controls themselves controls the room, and the speaker who controls the room controls attention, and the speaker who controls attention controls influence. This is the psychological foundation of public speaking mastery. Chapter 2. The hidden psychology of audience perception. Every time you stand in front of an audience, something invisible begins immediately. Before you speak, before you explain, before you introduce yourself, the audience begins forming a psychological conclusion about you. This conclusion is not based on your words. It is based on your presence. Because human beings evolved to evaluate emotional certainty faster than logical information, the brain prioritizes emotional signals first. It asks one question instantly: is this person stable? Stability signals safety. Safety creates trust. Trust creates attention. Attention creates influence. This process happens automatically, without conscious thought, without deliberate analysis. The audience senses your internal state before they analyze your message. If your internal state is calm, your presence appears strong. If your internal state is unstable, your presence appears weak, even if your words are perfect. Because emotional signals are more powerful than verbal signals, the audience does not simply hear your voice. They interpret your nervous system. They observe your pacing. They observe your breathing. They observe your emotional regulation. These signals reveal certainty or uncertainty. Certainty creates authority. Uncertainty weakens authority. This is why presence determines influence. Presence is not performance. Presence is internal stability made visible. Most speakers focus on external delivery. They attempt to control gestures. They attempt to control posture. They attempt to control voice tone artificially, but artificial control cannot replace internal stability. The audience detects authenticity. They detect emotional truth. If your calm is real, it creates trust. If your calm is forced, it creates doubt. Trust cannot be faked. It must be embodied. This is why powerful speakers focus internally first. They stabilize themselves before they speak, because once internal stability exists, external authority emerges naturally. The audience senses this immediately. They begin paying attention more closely. Because attention follows certainty, certainty attracts focus. Focus creates influence. There is also a principle known as emotional contagion. Emotional states spread between people. When the speaker is calm, the audience becomes calm. When the speaker is anxious, the audience becomes uncomfortable. The speaker's nervous system influences the audience's nervous system. This means your internal state shapes the emotional environment of the room. Powerful speakers stabilize the emotional environment. They do not react to the audience. The audience reacts to them. This is psychological leadership. Leadership begins with emotional control. Emotional control creates stability. Stability creates authority. Authority creates influence. Another hidden factor in audience perception is predictability. The brain trusts predictable emotional behavior. Unpredictable emotional signals create uncertainty. Uncertainty weakens trust. When your emotional state is consistent, the audience relaxes. They feel safe listening to you. Safety allows them to focus on your message. Focus increases impact. Most speakers unintentionally create unpredictability. Their voice fluctuates rapidly. Their pacing becomes inconsistent. Their emotional signals shift under pressure. These fluctuations weaken perceived authority. Powerful speakers maintain consistency. Their pacing remains controlled. Their breathing remains stable. Their emotional state remains grounded. This consistency creates psychological safety. Psychological safety creates trust. Trust creates influence. There is also the principle of perceived status. High-status individuals appear emotionally independent. They do not seek approval. They do not rush to prove themselves. They remain calm regardless of observation. This emotional independence signals confidence. Confidence signals competence. Competence signals leadership. Leadership attracts attention. Low-status behavior appears emotionally dependent. It seeks validation. It reacts to approval or disapproval. This dependency weakens authority. Powerful speakers do not seek approval. They focus on transmitting clarity. Clarity strengthens presence. Presence strengthens influence. Another powerful factor is silence. Silence amplifies authority, because silence demonstrates comfort with observation. Comfort signals emotional control. Emotional control signals strength. Strength attracts attention. Most speakers fear silence. They rush to fill every moment with words, because silence exposes their internal state. But powerful speakers use silence deliberately. Silence allows the audience to process. Silence creates weight. Silence creates presence. Presence strengthens perception. Audience perception is not controlled by speaking more. It is controlled by stabilizing more. Stabilizing your breathing, stabilizing your pacing, stabilizing your emotional state. Because stability creates certainty. Certainty creates trust. Trust creates influence. Influence creates impact. The audience is not waiting for perfect words. They are waiting for emotional certainty, and the moment they sense it, they begin listening differently, not because you demanded attention, but because your presence earned it. This is the hidden psychology of audience perception. Chapter 3. How powerful speakers control their nervous system. Public speaking does not challenge your intelligence. It challenges your nervous system, because the moment you stand in front of an audience, your body enters a state of heightened awareness. Your senses sharpen. Your breathing changes. Your heart rate increases. Your nervous system prepares for exposure. This reaction is automatic. It is not a conscious decision. It is a biological mechanism designed to protect you. The nervous system does not distinguish between physical danger and social exposure. To the nervous system, being observed activates survival patterns. These patterns prepare you to react quickly. But reaction weakens authority. Authority requires control. Powerful speakers are not those who eliminate nervous system activation. They are those who control it. Because control transforms instability into stability. Stability transforms fear into presence. Presence transforms speaking into influence. Most people attempt to control their words. Powerful speakers control their physiology, because physiology shapes psychology. When your breathing becomes unstable, your thoughts become unstable. When your breathing stabilizes, your thoughts stabilize. Breathing is the gateway to nervous system control. Most speakers breathe unconsciously. Under pressure, breathing becomes shallow. Shallow breathing signals danger to the nervous system. Danger signals increase anxiety. Anxiety weakens emotional control. Powerful speakers stabilize their breathing deliberately. They slow their breathing. They deepen their breathing. This signals safety to the nervous system. Safety reduces anxiety. Reduced anxiety strengthens presence. Presence strengthens authority. Authority strengthens influence. Another critical factor is pacing. Most speakers accelerate under pressure. Their speech becomes faster. Their movements become faster. This acceleration reflects internal instability. Instability weakens authority. Powerful speakers slow their pacing. They move deliberately. They speak deliberately. Deliberate pacing signals control. Control signals confidence. Confidence signals competence. Competence attracts attention. Slowing down is not weakness. Slowing down is dominance over your nervous system, because speed reflects reaction. Slowness reflects control. The nervous system also responds to posture. Posture influences emotional state. When posture collapses, emotional stability weakens. When posture stabilizes, emotional stability strengthens. This is not performance. This is biology. The body influences the mind. Powerful speakers maintain grounded posture, not forced posture, not artificial posture. Grounded posture reflects internal stability. Internal stability strengthens presence. Presence strengthens influence. There is also the factor of mental resistance. Most speakers resist nervous system activation. They attempt to suppress fear. They attempt to eliminate anxiety completely. This resistance increases instability, because resistance signals danger. Powerful speakers do not resist activation. They accept it. Acceptance stabilizes the nervous system. Stability restores control. Control strengthens presence. Presence strengthens authority. Fear does not need to be eliminated. It needs to be stabilized, because activation contains energy. Energy can be directed. Directed energy strengthens communication. Undirected energy creates anxiety. Control transforms energy into clarity. Clarity strengthens influence. Another powerful mechanism is attention control. Under pressure, attention becomes fragmented. The mind begins monitoring itself. It begins questioning itself. it begins doubting itself. This internal monitoring weakens stability. Powerful speakers focus externally. They focus on transmitting their message, not evaluating themselves. This outward focus stabilizes attention. Stable attention strengthens clarity. Clarity strengthens authority. Authority strengthens influence. Silence also stabilizes the nervous system. Silence allows your physiology to reset. Silence slows breathing. Silence slows thought speed. Silence restores emotional balance. Powerful speakers allow silence. They do not rush to escape it. They remain stable within it. This stability strengthens their presence. Presence strengthens audience trust. Trust strengthens influence. The nervous system follows leadership. If you react to it, it becomes unstable. If you lead it, it stabilizes. Powerful speakers lead their nervous system. They regulate their breathing. They regulate their pacing. They regulate their attention. This regulation creates calm. Calm creates authority. Authority creates influence. Public speaking mastery is not verbal mastery. It is nervous system mastery, because the speaker who controls their nervous system controls their presence, and the speaker who controls their presence controls the audience, and the speaker who controls the audience controls influence. Chapter 4. The first 30 seconds. How audiences decide whether to trust you. Before you finish your first sentence, the audience has already made a decision about you. Not a conscious decision, not a logical decision, but a psychological one. They have already sensed whether you are stable or unstable, certain or uncertain, trustworthy or questionable. This decision happens within seconds, because the human brain is designed to evaluate emotional signals immediately. It does not wait for your full message. It evaluates your presence first. Your nervous system communicates faster than your words. Your posture communicates. Your pacing communicates. Your breathing communicates. Your emotional stability communicates. These signals shape perception instantly. This is why the first 30 seconds determine the psychological foundation of your entire speech. If the audience senses certainty, they relax. If the audience senses instability, they remain guarded. Trust opens attention. Doubt closes attention. Once attention closes, influence weakens. Most speakers unknowingly weaken their authority in the first moments, not because they lack knowledge, but because their internal state is unstable. They rush to begin speaking. They attempt to eliminate their discomfort. They attempt to escape observation. This urgency communicates emotional instability. Instability weakens trust. Powerful speakers do not rush. They stabilize themselves first. They allow themselves to exist in the space. They allow their nervous system to settle. This stillness communicates control. Control communicates confidence. Confidence communicates competence. Competence communicates leadership. Leadership attracts attention naturally. The audience senses that the speaker is not controlled by pressure. They sense internal stability. This stability creates psychological safety. Safety allows the audience to relax. Relaxation allows the audience to listen. Listening allows influence. Most speakers attempt to create trust through words. Powerful speakers create trust through presence. Presence cannot be faked. It must be embodied, because the audience is not only hearing your message, they are feeling your nervous system. If your nervous system is stable, your presence feels calm. If your nervous system is unstable, your presence feels uncertain. This perception shapes everything that follows. Another powerful factor is pacing. Fast beginnings weaken authority. They signal urgency. Urgency signals emotional pressure. Pressure signals instability. Powerful speakers begin slowly, not artificially, but deliberately. Slow beginnings communicate control. Control strengthens authority. Authority strengthens attention. Attention strengthens influence. Silence also plays a critical role in the first moments. Most speakers fear silence. They rush to fill it, because silence exposes their internal state. Powerful speakers allow silence briefly. Silence stabilizes the nervous system. Silence communicates emotional independence. Independence strengthens authority. Authority strengthens trust. Trust strengthens influence. The audience begins to perceive the speaker differently, not because of what they said, but because of how they exist. Existence communicates certainty. Certainty communicates competence. Competence attracts attention. Another hidden factor is emotional independence. Speakers who appear emotionally dependent on approval weaken their authority. Approval, Seeking behavior creates subtle tension. Tension signals instability. Powerful speakers do not seek approval. They focus on transmitting clarity. Clarity strengthens presence. Presence strengthens trust. Trust strengthens influence. The audience does not need you to prove yourself. They need you to stabilize yourself, because stability signals competence more powerfully than words. There is also the principle of emotional leadership. The audience mirrors the speaker's emotional state. If the speaker is calm, the audience becomes calm. If the speaker is anxious, the audience becomes uncomfortable. Powerful speakers stabilize the emotional environment. They lead emotionally, not through force, but through stability. This leadership strengthens influence. Influence strengthens impact. The first 30 seconds establish psychological authority. Once authority is established, the audience listens differently. They trust more easily. They engage more deeply. They absorb more fully. Public speaking mastery begins before you speak. It begins with stabilizing your internal state. Because when your internal state is stable, your presence communicates certainty, and certainty creates trust, and trust creates influence, and influence creates impact. Chapter 5. How to eliminate speaking anxiety by controlling your internal state. Speaking anxiety is not caused by the audience. It is caused by your interpretation of the audience. Because anxiety does not originate externally, it originates internally. It is created by the nervous system's perception of threat, not physical threat, psychological threat, the threat of judgment, the threat of rejection, the threat of losing control. The nervous system reacts to these perceived threats automatically. It increases heart rate. It increases breathing speed. It increases muscular tension. It prepares you to react. But public speaking does not require reaction. It requires control. Most speakers attempt to eliminate anxiety completely. They attempt to suppress it. They attempt to fight it. But suppression increases instability, because resistance signals danger to the nervous system. Danger increases anxiety. Powerful speakers do not attempt to eliminate anxiety. They stabilize it. Because anxiety is not the enemy, loss of control is the enemy. Anxiety is simply energy. Energy can be directed. Energy can be controlled. Energy can be stabilized. When stabilized, anxiety transforms into presence. Presence strengthens authority. Authority strengthens influence. Most anxiety is created by internal focus. The speaker becomes aware of themselves. They monitor their voice. They monitor their movements. They monitor their performance. This self-monitoring fragments attention. Fragmented attention weakens stability. Powerful speakers focus externally. They focus on transmitting clarity. They focus on communicating their message. External focus stabilizes attention. Stable attention stabilizes the nervous system. Stabilized nervous system strengthens presence. Presence strengthens authority. Authority strengthens influence. Another critical factor is breathing control. Breathing directly influences emotional state. Fast breathing signals danger. Slow breathing signals safety. Safety stabilizes the nervous system. Most anxious speakers breathe unconsciously. Their breathing becomes shallow. Shallow breathing reinforces anxiety. Powerful speakers stabilize their breathing deliberately. They slow their breathing. They deepen their breathing. This signals safety to the nervous system. Safety reduces anxiety. Reduced anxiety strengthens clarity. Clarity strengthens presence. Presence strengthens influence. Posture also influences emotional stability. Collapsed posture weakens emotional control. Grounded posture strengthens emotional control. The body influences the mind. Powerful speakers stabilize their posture naturally. This stability reinforces internal calm. Internal calm strengthens authority. Authority strengthens influence. There is also the factor of outcome attachment. Most speakers attach their identity to the audience's reaction. They seek approval. They seek validation. This creates emotional dependency. Dependency weakens stability. Powerful speakers detach from outcome. They focus on transmission, not approval. This emotional independence stabilizes the nervous system. Stable nervous system strengthens presence. Presence strengthens authority. Authority strengthens influence. Another hidden cause of anxiety is resistance to observation. Most speakers resist being observed. They interpret observation as threat. Powerful speakers accept observation. Acceptance stabilizes the nervous system. Resistance destabilizes it. Acceptance creates calm. Calm strengthens presence. Presence strengthens authority. Authority strengthens influence. Silence also stabilizes anxiety. Silence allows breathing to regulate. Silence allows emotional control to return. Powerful speakers allow silence. They do not rush to escape it. They remain stable within it. This stability strengthens influence. Anxiety cannot survive in stability. It survives in resistance. It survives in internal chaos. Stability eliminates internal chaos. Powerful speakers create stability deliberately. They stabilize their breathing. They stabilize their posture. They stabilize their attention. They stabilize their emotional state. This stabilization transforms anxiety into control. Control transforms fear into presence. Presence transforms speaking into influence, because the speaker who controls their internal state controls their emotional signals, and the speaker who controls their emotional signals controls audience perception, and the speaker who controls audience perception controls influence. Speaking anxiety is not eliminated through force. It is eliminated through control. Control over your nervous system. Control over your internal state. Control over yourself. And once you control yourself, public speaking becomes power. Chapter 6. How to speak with authority without forcing confidence. Most people misunderstand authority. They believe authority is something you perform, something you project, something you force into your voice. They try to sound confident. They try to appear strong. They try to imitate powerful speakers. But forced confidence is fragile, because authority is not created externally. It is created internally. Authority is the result of emotional certainty, not vocal effort, not verbal complexity, not performance. The audience does not trust speakers who try to sound confident. They trust speakers who are calm, because calm signals control. Control signals competence. Competence signals leadership. Leadership attracts attention. Authority emerges naturally from internal stability. Most speakers attempt to control their voice first. Powerful speakers control their nervous system first, because the voice reflects the internal state. If the internal state is unstable, the voice reveals it. It becomes strained. It becomes rushed. It becomes uncertain. But when the internal state is stable, the voice stabilizes naturally. It becomes clear. It becomes steady. It becomes controlled. This stability creates authority. Authority cannot be faked convincingly. It must be embodied, because human beings detect emotional authenticity instantly. They detect emotional certainty. They detect emotional instability. This detection happens automatically, beyond conscious awareness. Most speakers weaken their authority by trying too hard. Effort signals insecurity. Insecurity weakens perception. Powerful speakers do not try to appear confident. They focus on stabilizing themselves. Stability creates confidence naturally. Confidence is not created by effort. It is created by control. Control over breathing. Control over pacing. Control over emotional reactions. This control strengthens presence. Presence strengthens authority. Authority strengthens influence. Another critical factor is pacing. Authority moves slowly, not artificially slow, but deliberately slow. Slowness signals control. Control signals confidence. Confidence signals competence. Competence attracts attention. Fast speech signals urgency. Urgency signals emotional pressure. Pressure weakens authority. Powerful speakers allow their words to emerge naturally. They do not rush. They do not force. They allow silence between thoughts. This silence reinforces authority, because silence signals emotional independence. Independence strengthens perception. Another hidden factor is emotional independence from approval. Speakers who seek approval weaken their authority. Approval-seeking behavior creates subtle tension. Tension signals insecurity. Powerful speakers do not seek approval. They focus on transmitting clarity. Clarity strengthens presence. Presence strengthens authority. Authority strengthens influence. Eye contact also influences authority. Not forced eye contact, not aggressive eye contact, but calm, natural engagement. Calm eye contact signals emotional control. Emotional control signals confidence. Confidence signals competence. Competence attracts attention. Powerful speakers do not attempt to dominate the audience. They stabilize the emotional environment. This stability attracts attention naturally, because human beings follow emotional certainty. Certainty attracts trust. Trust attracts influence. Another powerful factor is internal silence, not external silence. Internal silence, the absence of mental chaos. When the mind is stable, the voice becomes stable. When the mind is unstable, the voice reflects instability. Powerful speakers quiet internal noise. They focus on their message, not their fear, not their performance. This focus stabilizes their nervous system. Stable nervous system strengthens presence. Presence strengthens authority. Authority strengthens influence. Authority is not loudness. Authority is not aggression. Authority is calm certainty. Certainty that exists without force. Certainty that exists without effort. Certainty that exists internally, because the audience is not responding to your words alone. They are responding to your emotional state. If your emotional state is stable, your presence communicates authority automatically. If your emotional state is unstable, no performance can hide it. Public speaking mastery is not voice mastery. It is self-mastery. Because when you master your internal state, you master your presence. And when you master your presence, you master authority. And when you master authority, you master influence. Authority is not something you perform. Authority is something you become. Chapter 7. The Power of Silence. How great speakers command attention without speaking. Most people believe speaking creates influence. But the most powerful speakers understand something deeper. Influence is not created by speaking more. It is created by controlling silence. Silence is not the absence of communication. Silence is psychological communication. It communicates emotional stability. It communicates internal control. It communicates certainty. And certainty attracts attention automatically. Most speakers fear silence because silence exposes their internal state. When they stop speaking, they become fully visible, fully observed, fully exposed. This exposure creates discomfort, and so they rush to escape silence. They fill every moment with words. They speak continuously, not because it strengthens their message, but because it protects them from discomfort. This weakens authority, because authority is not afraid of silence. Authority is comfortable within it. Powerful speakers use silence deliberately, not to avoid speaking, but to amplify presence, because silence stabilizes the nervous system. Silence slows breathing. Silence slows thought speed. Silence restores emotional control. This emotional control strengthens presence. Presence strengthens authority. Authority strengthens influence. Silence also increases audience attention. When you stop speaking, the audience becomes alert. Their brain shifts focus. They anticipate what comes next. This anticipation increases engagement. Engagement strengthens influence. Continuous speech reduces attention. Silence restores it. Silence creates psychological weight. Words delivered after silence carry more impact, because silence creates space. Space allows absorption. Absorption strengthens influence. Most speakers dilute their message by speaking excessively. Powerful speakers allow their words to exist. They allow silence to reinforce meaning. This silence communicates certainty. Certainty strengthens authority. Authority strengthens trust. Trust strengthens influence. Silence also demonstrates emotional independence. Emotionally dependent speakers seek constant validation. They seek reassurance through continuous speech. Powerful speakers do not seek reassurance. They remain stable without speaking. This stability signals confidence. Confidence strengthens authority. Authority strengthens influence. Silence also stabilizes pacing. Fast pacing signals anxiety. Slow pacing signals control. Control signals competence. Competence attracts attention. Silence naturally slows pacing. Slower pacing strengthens presence. Presence strengthens influence. Another powerful effect of silence is emotional leadership. The audience mirrors the speaker's emotional state. When the speaker is calm, the audience becomes calm. When the speaker is unstable, the audience becomes unstable. Silence stabilizes emotional environment. Stability strengthens audience trust. Trust strengthens influence. Powerful speakers use silence at critical moments, before beginning, after important points, when transitioning between ideas. This silence reinforces authority. It communicates deliberate control. Control strengthens perception. Perception strengthens influence. Silence also protects against nervous system overload. Continuous speech destabilizes breathing. Destabilized breathing increases anxiety. Silence restores breathing stability. Breathing stability restores emotional stability. Emotional stability strengthens authority. Authority strengthens influence. Most speakers use silence unconsciously. Powerful speakers use silence intentionally. They allow silence to amplify their presence. They allow silence to strengthen their message. They allow silence to demonstrate control, because silence is not weakness. Silence is power. It signals that you are not controlled by pressure. It signals that you are in control of yourself. This control transforms perception. The audience begins to trust you more, respect you more, listen more deeply. Because emotional stability attracts attention, and silence reveals emotional stability. Public speaking mastery is not about eliminating silence, it is about mastering it. Because the speaker who controls silence controls attention, and the speaker who controls attention controls influence. Chapter 8. How to control the room and hold attention effortlessly. Attention is not given freely, it is earned psychologically. Every audience enters a room with divided focus. Their minds are occupied, their attention is fragmented, their nervous systems are not yet aligned with yours. Most speakers attempt to capture attention through effort. They try to sound impressive, they try to speak louder, they try to increase energy artificially, but attention is not captured through force. It is captured through stability, because the human brain is drawn to emotional certainty. Certainty signals leadership. Leadership attracts attention naturally. When your internal state is stable, your presence becomes magnetic, not because you demand attention, but because your nervous system communicates control. Control creates psychological gravity. Gravity pulls attention toward you. Most speakers unknowingly repel attention, not because their message lacks value, but because their emotional state lacks stability. Instability creates uncertainty. Uncertainty weakens audience trust. Trust determines attention. Powerful speakers stabilize the emotional environment. They do not chase attention. They create conditions where attention emerges naturally. This begins with pacing. Fast pacing fragments attention. Slow pacing organizes attention. When you slow your speech, the audience's nervous system slows with you. This synchronization strengthens engagement. Engagement strengthens influence. Silence also plays a powerful role. Silence resets attention. When you pause, the audience becomes alert. Their brain anticipates continuation. This anticipation strengthens focus. Most speakers fear silence. They rush to fill it. This weakens their authority. Powerful speakers allow silence. Silence strengthens presence. Presence strengthens attention. Attention strengthens influence. Another hidden factor is emotional independence. Speakers who seek audience approval weaken their control. Approval-seeking behavior creates emotional dependency. Dependency weakens authority. Powerful speakers remain emotionally independent. They focus on transmission, not validation. This independence strengthens perception. Perception strengthens influence. Eye contact also stabilizes attention. Not forced eye contact, not scanning nervously, but calm, grounded engagement. This engagement communicates confidence. Confidence strengthens authority. Authority strengthens audience focus. Another powerful principle is nervous system leadership. The audience unconsciously mirrors your emotional state. If you are calm, they become calm. If you are unstable, they become restless. This emotional mirroring determines attention stability. Powerful speakers lead emotionally. They stabilize themselves first. This stabilization spreads to the audience. The room becomes quieter, more focused, more receptive. Not because you forced control, but because you embodied control. Movement also influences attention. Uncontrolled movement weakens presence. It signals nervous system instability. Powerful speakers move deliberately. Every movement has purpose. This deliberate control strengthens perception. Perception strengthens authority. Authority strengthens attention. Another hidden factor is certainty of intention. Speakers who doubt themselves weaken attention. Doubt creates emotional instability. Powerful speakers transmit certainty, not through words, but through presence. Certainty stabilizes audience perception. Stable perception strengthens engagement. Engagement strengthens influence. Most speakers attempt to hold attention externally. Powerful speakers hold attention internally. They stabilize their breathing. They stabilize their pacing. They stabilize their emotional state. This internal stability creates external control. Control transforms perception. Perception transforms attention. Attention transforms influence. The audience does not follow words. They follow certainty. They follow stability. They follow emotional control, because emotional control signals leadership. Leadership commands attention. Public speaking mastery is not about demanding attention. It is about becoming the person attention naturally follows, because the speaker who controls their internal state controls the room, and the speaker who controls the room controls attention, and the speaker who controls attention controls influence. Chapter 9. How to speak clearly when your mind goes blank. There is a moment every speaker fears, the moment when the mind stops, when thoughts disappear, when clarity vanishes, when silence arrives unexpectedly. This moment creates panic, not because the audience knows what happened, but because the speaker knows, and the nervous system reacts immediately. Heart rate increases, breathing becomes unstable, thoughts become fragmented. The speaker begins searching desperately for control. This desperation weakens authority, because authority cannot exist in panic. The mind going blank is not a failure of intelligence. It is a response of the nervous system. When pressure increases, the brain shifts into survival mode. In survival mode, cognitive flexibility decreases. Access to memory becomes restricted. This restriction protects the nervous system from overload, but it disrupts verbal flow. Most speakers respond incorrectly when this happens. They panic internally. They attempt to force thoughts. They attempt to escape silence quickly. This internal chaos worsens instability. Instability weakens presence. Powerful speakers respond differently. They stabilize first, because stability restores cognitive access. When the nervous system calms, clarity returns naturally. Panic blocks clarity. Calm restores clarity. This is the hidden principle most speakers never understand. Clarity is not forced. Clarity is allowed. Most speakers try to control their thoughts. Powerful speakers control their nervous system, because the nervous system determines access to thought. When breathing stabilizes, the brain stabilizes. When breathing destabilizes, the brain destabilizes. Powerful speakers slow their breathing. This signals safety. Safety restores cognitive function. Cognitive function restores clarity. Clarity restores authority. Another critical factor is acceptance of silence. Most speakers fear silence. They interpret silence as failure. Powerful speakers allow silence. Silence stabilizes emotional state. Silence restores internal control. Silence strengthens authority. The audience does not interpret silence as weakness. They interpret emotional instability as weakness. Silence delivered with calm presence strengthens perception. Presence strengthens authority. Authority strengthens influence. Another hidden factor is attention focus. When the mind goes blank, attention turns inward. Self-monitoring increases. This weakens clarity. Powerful speakers shift attention outward. They focus on the message. They focus on communication. This outward focus restores cognitive flow. Flow restores clarity. Clarity strengthens authority. Authority strengthens influence. Another powerful principle is pacing control. Fast pacing increases nervous system instability. Slow pacing stabilizes it. Powerful speakers slow their speech deliberately. This stabilizes their nervous system. Stable nervous system restores clarity. Clarity restores confidence. Confidence strengthens authority. Authority strengthens influence. Most speakers believe clarity creates confidence. In reality, stability creates clarity. Clarity creates confidence. Confidence creates authority. Authority creates influence. This sequence begins internally, not externally. Another critical factor is emotional acceptance. Resisting the blank mind increases instability. Accepting it stabilizes the nervous system. Powerful speakers do not fear temporary silence. They allow recovery. Recovery restores clarity naturally. The audience remains calm when the speaker remains calm. The audience becomes unstable when the speaker becomes unstable. Emotional leadership determines perception. Powerful speakers lead emotionally. They remain stable regardless of internal fluctuation. This stability strengthens trust. Trust strengthens influence. The mind going blank is not the end of authority. Loss of emotional control is the end of authority. As long as emotional control remains intact, authority remains intact. Powerful speakers understand this. They protect emotional stability first. Clarity always follows stability. Public speaking mastery is not mastery over words. It is mastery over internal state, because the speaker who controls their nervous system controls their clarity, and the speaker who controls their clarity controls their authority, and the speaker who controls their authority controls influence. Chapter 10. How to make your voice sound confident, calm, and powerful. Your voice reveals more than your words. It reveals your internal state. It reveals your emotional control. It reveals your certainty or your uncertainty. The audience does not consciously analyze your voice, but their nervous system interprets it instantly, because the human brain evolved to detect emotional signals through sound. Before words are understood, emotional tone is felt. This is why the same sentence can create authority or weaken perception, not because of the words themselves, but because of how they are delivered. Most speakers attempt to control their voice externally. They try to sound confident. They try to sound strong. They try to force vocal authority. But forced confidence creates tension. Tension weakens authenticity. Authenticity determines trust. Powerful speakers do not force their voice. They stabilize their nervous system, because the voice follows the nervous system. When the nervous system is unstable, the voice becomes unstable. It becomes rushed. It becomes strained. It becomes uncertain. When the nervous system is stable, the voice stabilizes naturally. It becomes clear. It becomes steady. It becomes controlled. This stability creates authority. Breathing is the foundation of vocal control. Most speakers breathe unconsciously. Under pressure, breathing becomes shallow. Shallow breathing weakens vocal stability. Powerful speakers stabilize their breathing. Slow breathing stabilizes vocal tone. Stable vocal tone strengthens authority. Authority strengthens influence. Another critical factor is pacing. Fast speech signals nervous system instability. Slow speech signals nervous system control. Control strengthens perception. Powerful speakers speak deliberately. They allow words to emerge naturally. They do not rush. They allow silence between phrases. Silence strengthens vocal authority, because silence communicates emotional independence. Independence strengthens confidence. Confidence strengthens influence. Another powerful factor is vocal tension. Tension weakens vocal clarity. Tension emerges from emotional instability. Powerful speakers release internal tension. This release stabilizes the voice. Stable voice strengthens authority. Authority strengthens influence. Most speakers attempt to impress through vocal variation. Powerful speakers impress through vocal stability. Stability communicates certainty. Certainty attracts attention. Attention strengthens influence. Another hidden factor is emotional independence from audience approval. Speakers who seek approval weaken their voice. Their tone reflects uncertainty. Powerful speakers focus on transmission, not validation. This focus stabilizes vocal delivery. Stable delivery strengthens authority. Authority strengthens influence. Another critical factor is internal silence. Mental chaos disrupts vocal clarity. Mental stability strengthens vocal clarity. Powerful speakers stabilize their thoughts. Thought stability strengthens vocal stability. Vocal stability strengthens authority. Authority strengthens influence. The audience does not trust loud voices. They trust stable voices. Stability signals control. Control signals competence. Competence attracts attention. Powerful speakers allow their voice to emerge from calm, not effort, not force. Calm creates vocal certainty. Certainty strengthens authority. Authority strengthens influence. Another powerful principle is emotional containment. Powerful speakers do not leak emotional instability. They contain their internal state. This containment stabilizes vocal delivery. Stable delivery strengthens perception. Perception strengthens influence. Your voice is not controlled directly. It is controlled indirectly, by controlling your nervous system, by stabilizing your breathing, by stabilizing your emotional state. This internal stability shapes external sound. Public speaking mastery is not voice manipulation. It is nervous system mastery, because when you master your internal state, your voice communicates authority automatically. And when your voice communicates authority, your message becomes powerful. And when your message becomes powerful, your influence becomes inevitable. Chapter 11. How to influence and persuade without trying to convince. Most speakers try to persuade through effort. They try to convince the audience. They try to prove their point. They try to force agreement. But persuasion is not created through force. It is created through certainty, because human beings resist pressure, but they follow emotional stability. When a speaker tries too hard to convince, the audience senses emotional urgency. Urgency signals insecurity. Insecurity weakens authority. Authority determines persuasion. Powerful speakers do not attempt to force belief. They stabilize themselves. Stability communicates certainty. Certainty attracts trust. Trust creates persuasion naturally. Persuasion is not logical first, it is emotional first. The audience must feel that you believe what you are saying, not intellectually, emotionally, because emotional certainty signals authenticity. Authenticity creates trust. Trust creates influence. Influence creates persuasion. Most speakers attempt to persuade through excessive explanation. They add more words, more justification, more argument. But excessive explanation weakens authority. Authority does not defend unnecessarily. Authority communicates clearly and stops. This restraint strengthens perception. Perception strengthens persuasion. Silence also strengthens persuasion. When words are followed by silence, they carry weight. Weight strengthens impact. Impact strengthens influence. Continuous speech weakens persuasion because it signals emotional dependency. Dependency weakens authority. Powerful speakers allow silence. Silence communicates certainty. Certainty strengthens persuasion. Another powerful factor is emotional independence. Speakers who need agreement weaken their influence. Their nervous system reveals dependency. Powerful speakers remain emotionally independent. They focus on transmitting clarity, not securing approval. This independence strengthens authority. Authority strengthens persuasion. Another hidden factor is emotional leadership. The audience mirrors the speaker's emotional state. If the speaker is certain, the audience feels certainty. If the speaker is uncertain, the audience feels doubt. This emotional mirroring determines persuasion. Powerful speakers lead emotionally. They stabilize themselves first. This stability spreads to the audience. The audience begins to trust. Trust strengthens persuasion. Another powerful principle is internal alignment. When the speaker believes fully in their message, their nervous system stabilizes. This stability strengthens vocal delivery. Vocal stability strengthens perception. Perception strengthens persuasion. Most speakers attempt to persuade externally. Powerful speakers persuade internally. They align themselves emotionally. This alignment strengthens authority. Authority strengthens persuasion. Another hidden factor is clarity. Clarity strengthens persuasion. Confusion weakens persuasion. Powerful speakers communicate clearly. They remove unnecessary complexity. Clarity strengthens audience trust. Trust strengthens persuasion. Another critical factor is calm presence. Calm presence strengthens credibility. Credibility strengthens persuasion. Most speakers weaken persuasion through emotional instability. Instability weakens trust. Trust determines persuasion. Public speaking mastery is not about convincing the audience. It is about stabilizing yourself. Because when you stabilize yourself, your presence communicates certainty. Certainty creates trust. Trust creates persuasion, and persuasion creates influence. The audience does not follow pressure, they follow certainty. And certainty is not created through effort. It is created through control. Control over your emotional state. Control over your nervous system. Control over yourself. Because the speaker who controls themselves controls influence. Chapter 12. Becoming the speaker people instinctively respect and remember. There is a level of speaking most people never reach, not because it is impossible, but because they never realize what truly creates it. They believe great speakers are created through talent, through personality, through charisma, through natural ability. But the truth is deeper. Great speakers are created through emotional control, because respect is not created through words. It is created through presence. Presence is the visible expression of internal stability. When a speaker is internally stable, the audience senses certainty. Certainty creates trust. Trust creates respect. Respect creates influence. This process happens automatically, without effort, without force, without performance. Most speakers attempt to create respect externally. They try to sound impressive. They try to appear confident. They try to perform authority. But performance creates tension. Tension weakens authenticity. Authenticity determines trust. Powerful speakers do not perform authority. They embody stability. Stability creates authority naturally. Authority attracts respect naturally. The audience does not respect effort. They respect control. Control over emotional reactions. Control over nervous system instability. Control over internal state. This control communicates leadership. Leadership attracts attention. Attention strengthens influence. Most speakers weaken respect by seeking approval. Seeking behavior signals insecurity. Insecurity weakens authority. Powerful speakers remain emotionally independent. They focus on transmitting clarity, not securing validation. This independence strengthens perception. Perception strengthens respect. Another powerful factor is consistency. Consistent emotional stability strengthens trust. Trust strengthens respect. Most speakers fluctuate emotionally. Their nervous system reacts to audience feedback. Powerful speakers remain stable regardless of audience reaction. This stability communicates strength. Strength attracts respect. Another hidden factor is calm presence. Calm presence signals internal certainty. Certainty strengthens authority. Authority strengthens respect. Respect strengthens memorability. The audience remembers emotional certainty. They forget emotional instability. Because emotional stability creates psychological impact. Impact creates memory. Memory creates influence. Most speakers attempt to be remembered through impressive words. Powerful speakers are remembered through emotional stability. Because emotional stability creates psychological weight. Weight strengthens perception. Perception strengthens memorability. Another powerful principle is emotional containment. Powerful speakers do not leak anxiety. They do not leak urgency. They contain their emotional state. This containment strengthens presence. Presence strengthens authority. Authority strengthens respect. Another hidden factor is emotional leadership. The audience mirrors emotional certainty. Certainty stabilizes the room. Stability strengthens audience trust. Trust strengthens respect. Public speaking mastery is not about becoming louder. It is about becoming calmer. Calm creates control. Control creates authority. Authority creates respect. Respect creates influence. Influence creates impact. Most speakers try to control the audience. Powerful speakers control themselves. Because self-control creates presence. Presence creates authority. Authority creates respect. Respect creates influence. Influence creates leadership. The speaker who masters their internal state becomes different. Their words carry weight. Their silence carries power. Their presence carries authority. They do not chase attention. Attention follows them. They do not demand respect. Respect emerges naturally. They do not perform confidence. They embody certainty. Because the speaker who controls themselves becomes the speaker people trust. And the speaker people trust becomes the speaker people remember. And the speaker people remember becomes the speaker people follow. This is public speaking mastery. Conclusion. The psychology that transforms ordinary speakers into powerful communicators. Public speaking was never about words. Words are only the surface. Beneath the surface, something far more powerful determines how you are perceived. Your internal state. Because every time you speak, the audience is not only hearing your message, they are feeling your certainty or your uncertainty. They are sensing your emotional control or your emotional instability, and their decision to trust you, respect you, or ignore you is formed long before your speech ends. This is why public speaking mastery is not verbal mastery. It is self-mastery. Most people spend their lives trying to improve what they say. Few people learn to control how they exist. But the most powerful speakers understand something deeper. Presence creates authority. Authority creates trust. Trust creates influence. Influence creates impact. Presence is not performance. Presence is emotional stability made visible. When your nervous system is stable, your voice becomes stable. When your voice becomes stable, your presence becomes powerful. When your presence becomes powerful, the audience responds differently. They listen more closely. They trust more easily. They remember more deeply. Not because you forced attention, but because your certainty attracted it. Public speaking fear was never the enemy. Loss of control was the enemy, because fear is natural. But instability is optional, and control transforms fear into power. Every powerful speaker you have ever seen understood this principle. They did not eliminate nervous system activation. They mastered it. They stabilized their breathing. They stabilized their thoughts. They stabilized their emotional state. And this stability transformed how they were perceived. from uncertainty to authority, from anxiety to presence, from speaker to leader. Because leadership is not created through volume, it is created through emotional certainty. The audience follows the person who appears most certain, most stable, most controlled. From this moment forward, public speaking will never feel the same. Because you now understand the invisible force that determines influence, you understand that control begins internally, not externally. You understand that authority is not performed, it is embodied. You understand that presence is not created through effort, it is created through stability. This changes everything. Because once you control your internal state, you control your presence. Once you control your presence, you control attention. Once you control attention, you control influence. Public speaking mastery is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming fully in control of yourself. Because the speaker who controls themselves controls the room. And the speaker who controls the room controls influence. And the speaker who controls influence controls impact. This is Public Speaking Mastery. You have just finished listening to Public Speaking Mastery, the Psychology of Confident and Powerful Communication, written and created by Audiobook Mantra. This audiobook was not created to teach you how to perform. It was created to teach you how to control yourself. Because the most powerful speakers are not those who memorize the most words. They are those who master their internal state. They are those who remain calm under observation. They are those who remain stable under pressure. They are those whose presence communicates certainty before they even begin to speak. Public speaking is not about eliminating fear. It is about mastering your nervous system. It is about stabilizing your emotional state. It is about becoming the person whose calm creates trust. Because trust is the foundation of influence. And influence is the foundation of leadership. From this moment forward, every time you speak, you will understand what most people never see. You will understand that your power does not come from your words. It comes from your stability. It comes from your control. It comes from your presence. Continue developing this internal mastery. Continue strengthening your emotional control. Because public speaking mastery is not achieved in a single moment. It is built through awareness, through discipline, through self-control. Thank you for listening to Public Speaking Mastery, the Psychology of Confident and Powerful Communication, created by Audiobook Mantra. And remember, the speaker who controls their internal state controls their presence. The speaker who controls their presence controls the room. And the speaker who controls the room controls influence.